to what was a beautiful 2-year-old baby boy. He would have turned 3 this October. Harley could talk. He liked to walk and run and jump and play. Just a beautiful child. And I'm about to give you a set of scenarios and information over the next few minutes that if it doesn't boil your blood and bring tears to your eyes, then you're not a human being. Now I want to introduce you to 2 evil people. This is Shannon Short. She's 26 and the mother. She's from California. And Christian Thompson, who's the boyfriend. He's 26. He's from Texas. They met because they sell this organic glass cleaner door to door. And they were on the same team. So that's how they met, and that's how they ended up in Polk County, Florida, because they decided that traveling around the country with this 2-year-old baby was very difficult. So they settled here in not much more than a camper trailer, about 8 foot wide and 30 foot long. It was 1 bedroom with a living room, dining, kitchen area. Now, Shannon was working 2 jobs as a waitress, and she left Christian at home to take care of Harley. Shannon liked her job. She enjoyed working, and quite frankly, she referred to Christian as the babysitter. We know that Christian already has a 3-year-old daughter that lives with Christian's grandmother in Texas. And we also know that Shannon has 2 other children that live with her mother in California because her mother supposedly said that Shannon was not mature enough to raise children. So now I want to take you through a series of circumstances which are absolutely horrific. And I want to preface this by saying that these folks first, at one point, were Googling and thought that the child was possessed because he went for 2 days and wouldn't open his eyes. Well, do you know why? He had a serious eye infection. He couldn't open his eyes. They're thinking he's possessed. I can tell you that Christian, while babysitting this child in one period of time that I'm about to give you, said that the child had not been outside of this 30 by 8 mobile home, camper trailer, whatever it was, for a week and a half. And here's how all this occurred. On July the 31st, we received a 911 call from Shannon, who said that her son, Harley, was unresponsive. That was about 3 in the morning. At 6:55, he was declared deceased. Despite the valiant work by paramedics and hospital personnel, they could not save Harley's life. I can tell you that Christian and Shannon had been together about 8 months, and they actually moved in together on or about maybe May of this year. They dated for eight months, but they'd only lived together since May. On May the 27th, Christian texted Shannon at work and said Harley broke a plate. And Shannon said, mess him up. Only she didn't use mess. She used the F word. And then Christian responded back, oh my God, he's got a bruise. In fact, there were several other instances after this May 27th period, where Christian had actually photographed injuries to this child and had texted them to Shannon while she was at work, because he said he wanted to record the injuries so that no one would think that we're beating him. The detective said it was a great timeline of probable cause for the ultimate charges, because he actually documented the dates and the beatings with photographs, and the fact that he wanted to make sure that there was photographs so no one thought that they were beating him. On July the 27th, and I jump ahead, understanding that there are several beatings between May and July 27th, Christian sent photographs of scratches and bruises to the face of the child with a video. And the video is of the child trembling. And as I looked at that video, as well as the detectives when they looked at it, you could see nothing but pure fear and pain in the child's face. That's right, there was a still picture and then a very short video clip of this child actually trembling. The look in this beautiful baby's eyes were totally frightening. And we saw something different from these photographs that I just showed you. We saw where he'd been pulling his hair out, or someone had, where he was totally frightened. We know that when Shannon would get dressed to go to work, that little Harley would run to the bedroom and get clothes on because he wanted to get dressed and go with her. Shannon said, I saw that he was very clingy to me and appeared to be afraid of and scared of Christian. Well, there's very good reason for that. Christian was beating this beautiful baby like he was a rented mule. So let me take you to the last day of the baby's life. See if there's anything else I've forgotten here, if this is not horrific enough. Oh yes, on one other occasion, Christian said he's scratching himself in the face. That's why I tie him up. On another occasion, Shannon said, quit beating him with a belt because it's showing marks. And change and hit him with a purse strap. And maybe some of the more horrific damage, when we got into the case and at the medical examiner's office, we saw that somebody had twisted and tore and mutilated this baby's penis. So on July the 28th, when Shannon woke up because she had worked late into the night, she saw these injuries firsthand on the baby's face. She saw that he would cling to her on Saturday the 28th and 29th and didn't want to be put down. On July the 30th, she said, well, when I woke up from working late the night before, she actually worked 2 jobs as a waitress. She said he seemed okay, even though he was all bruised up in the face. So let me take you through the day on the 30th. At about 4:30 in the afternoon, she went to Amscott to cash a check. She went to Publix to shop. And while she was at Publix, Christian said, Harley is throwing up. He's thrown up on the bed and on the floor. And he just throws up continuously. Bring something home for him. In the meantime, Shannon calls Marissa and asks, can you give me a ride home from Publix? She had used Lyft to take her to Amscott and then to Publix. And Marissa said no, that she couldn't do that. And then Shannon said, well, I need to buy some marijuana from you. You know, that harmless minor drug that everybody thinks is okay. So in any event, Shannon gets a ride back home, I guess with Lyft again, because Marissa didn't pick her up. And Harley is moaning in pain. So she gives him some Motrin and some leftover antibiotic from when he had his eye infection. And Marissa arrives at the house, and Shannon then leaves the house with Marissa to go smoke marijuana. When she leaves the baby on a futon. So she goes to smoke some marijuana at Marissa's house. Then she goes to a smoke shop to buy a glass blunt. And then she stops by Publix to get ginger ale and crackers for this baby that's home throwing up. Then she goes back to Marissa's house where she buys $20 worth of marijuana. If any of you wonder why I hate that drug, here's your sign. Here's your example. Marissa then takes Shannon home. Harley hasn't moved from that futon the whole 3 hours that Shannon's gone smoking marijuana and buying marijuana. When Shannon arrives, the baby is groaning in pain and rubbing his head. So she says, well, I think I'll put him in a bathtub of water and see if I can get him some relief and some comfort because he's very sick. This baby's so sick that he can't set up in the tub. He keeps falling over into the water. And she said, well, I took him out because I didn't want him to drown. So she lays him back down in the bedroom. Now it's late in the evening, and now Christian and Shannon are smoking marijuana. You know why? They're extremely stressed out over this incident they've got going here, because they keep calling it CPS, Child Protection Team, which is from other states. We can't take him to the hospital because of the Child Protection Team. What are we going to do? So they're discussing it and smoking marijuana because they say they're under a lot of stress. Well, gosh, I guess that makes them eligible for a medical marijuana card. In the meantime, Christian leaves to go pay off a $20 marijuana debt he has, and he comes back. And they say, hey, we just absolutely cannot take this child to the hospital. So now it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. And they notice that Harley's eyes is rolling back in his head. And that he's grinding his teeth. And his mouth is clenched tight. And she's trying to open his mouth. Harley is actively dying. And then he went limp and unresponsive, and that's when they dial 911. EMS tries valiantly, as does the hospital staff, to save this child's life. At the medical examiner's office, they confirm what I've already told you. This child is tortured. Is tortured and has the evidence of the bruising and the scratching and the hair being pulled out. And they think that might have been pulled out some by the child while he was in significant pain. But what killed him was blunt force trauma to the stomach. As it's described to us by the medical examiner, that the bowel root was lacerated. And this baby got infection, peritonitis, which ultimately, when the infection got bad enough, it caused the child's cardiac death. All of this was very survivable had they taken the baby to the hospital. But they were more concerned about them than they were about the baby. I want to show you once again this beautiful child. There are thousands upon thousands of people in this country that can't have babies and would have given anything in the world to be able to adopt and have this beautiful child who would have grown up to have been a good man. But he never had a chance because of these two wretched, evil people who cared more about themselves than they did this baby. I cannot, in my wildest imagination, imagine the fear, along with the extended pain and injury this child was subjected to before they finally killed him. Christian's charged with first-degree murder. Shannon's charged with aggravated manslaughter. And then there is a litany of other charges that go with it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how I feel about children and the responsibility that parents have to protect children. And all children are prisoners in their parents' home. They can't decide where they live, who they live with, what they eat, what they wear. And that's why it's incumbent upon us as parents to be the very best that we can and give our child every opportunity in life. And when I think at almost 3 years old that this baby, this beautiful child, was tortured, and they sat there and watched this baby die over a period of days as this peritonitis grew because of the injuries, it rocks us to our soul. The most we can do is hope that the state attorney can find enough aggravating circumstances to charge the death penalty, and if not, make sure that they stay in prison the rest of their lives. Any questions?